All right, so this website it's actually from the Modern Language Association, which is, who this is what Modern Language Association is what MLA stands for. And so this is from the organization that that has designed and come up with that format. And this website, I recommend that you bookmark it. And this is not the same website as Purdue's OWL website, if you have not noticed. And they do have some information. They have a really helpful FAQ about MLA, because sometimes there are just different situations on trying to figure out how to do something in MLA. And you might not be able to find it on OWL Purdue. But the reason I have you use OWL Purdue and not this is because they don't actually have the style guide available for you. They have like little bits and pieces of the style guide available for you on here, but I think it's because they want you to actually buy the manual itself. So if you want to buy the manual, cool. If not, well, I recommend that you wait until March or April because they're coming out with a new one anyhow. But in the meantime, there are other websites besides the OWL website, but that's why I have you guys use that one because it has all of that information on there. But MLA does have this quick guide, which I think is handy, and I'm also giving you guys the link to it so you can look through it on your own. And we're going to go through this to see what the different pieces are of the citation. So works cited, if you're like, well, that might be kind of a weird name. So works, that refers to something someone has made. So you might think of works of art, or someone might look at a stack of magazines or books, and those are some works. And libraries hold a lot of different genres of works, right? So just think of works as your sources. And then cited, that means you cited something from that. Means you used some kind of information, whether it be a paraphrase or a quote, or even a thought or idea that was not yours that you got from that source. So basically this is the source where I got my information from. That is what works cited means. So now, as you know, on your works cited page, your citations have to look a certain way, and it might be kind of weird and confusing, but there's actually a method to the madness, I promise. So right here, those are the core elements. So those are the different things that have to be, or basically just like the basic pieces of a citation. Obviously, they can differ depending on the kind of source that you have. If you have a tweet, then you likely won't have, number 6 on here where it says number, because that's not going to be a thing. So some of these, it will vary depending on your source, but for the most part, this is just like the basic. So, and they call these the core elements. And it even says here, each entry in the list of works cited is composed of facts common to most works, the MLA core elements. These are symboled in a specific order. So it might be something that I have noted on your sources previously that, something might not be in the right order. And this order here is exactly, for the most part, how, the way things should be ordered. And you might notice like author, and then it says period. That's because you have to have a period after you list the author. The title of the source, then you have a period. But then you get down to title of container, and then there's a comma. So that's something you have to pay attention to. Now, you might be like, container, what's that? Then we'll go over here. So containers, that is basically like the thing that holds the information. So the example here is an anthology, and the source that's being pulled from it is a short story that's being used. So it says here, the concept of containers is crucial to MLA style. When the source being documented forms part of a larger whole, the larger whole can be thought of as a container that holds the source. For example, a short story may be contained in an anthology, and the short story is the source, and the anthology is the container. So a large amount of you use websites. So the website, so say you have an article from CNN, and the container would be CNN, right? And the source itself would be whichever article specifically that you were pulling. And here they have a practice template for this specific source and container right there. So the author, which they found over here, it says, I think I can make that larger. There we go. So it says Edward Copeland. So then they put Copeland, comma, Edward. And by the way, if you have like someone that's a junior or something like that, there is a specific way that you have to word that. If you have multiple authors, there's a specific way, and it can differ if you have 2 authors versus 5 authors. So that is something that you will have to look up because, as I've told you before, there's so many different variables. The next thing it says is the title of the source. Well, it's here because it's a short story. So the title's Money, and because it's a short story, that means it's in quotes, right? So smaller things like a song or the title of an episode of a TV show, or a short story like this, or an article on a website, those are in quotes. Then the title for the container, if it's a container or if it's a larger word, like the title of a movie, the title of a TV series, not the name of the episode, those go in italics. So the title of the container, so we're back over here to the container. So we put the whole title there and it's in italics. And then we put a comma because, that's what they say over there is a comma. And then other editors and contributors, they do have the information there. Sometimes you don't have that information for your source. You do have to look to see if it's there. But there's not always all this information. The version, there's not one. A number, there's not one. Publisher, it does have the publisher on here. Or there it is on Cambridge. Publication date. It's not on there, but I guess they looked it up for this example. And the location, because you obviously don't have that. So you'd have to put where exactly you pulled that specific information from. So that would be all the information you pull, and then you'd put it together in a hanging indent on your works cited page. And remember, those have to go in alphabetical order. So it will go in alphabetical order by what is either the author's last name or the title of the source, whichever one it is that it has. So that was that one. We're going to look at another one. So, here's the one with the all the information. So it shows you here. We're back on that. We're still on that Jane Austen one. The next page is when they have the different one. The title of the container, they have it here. So that's where that came from on 3. And then 4. And then they give you the page numbers. So you can go through on the website yourself and just kind of look to kind of figure out where those things go. Obviously, in a book, it will look different than on a website. Different websites look differently. Some of you may have noticed when you were working on your last paper, and some of you I pointed out to you when I was going through your papers, that if you, on a lot of those websites, especially if they are reputable ones, they will be like, they'll automatically give you your citation. They'll say, here's the citation, pick which one do you want, an MLA or APA or whatever. And it has it for you, which is awesome, especially if you're doing scholarly journals. If it's a scholarly source, then they typically have those on there. Otherwise, some of them just have, if you're going to cite the source, here's a list of all this information for you. So sometimes you have to scroll down to the bottom of the website, or kind of look over on the sides because they'll kind of have it in a tiny bit obscure area. So when all that's said and done, when you put it together, that is what that citation looks like. So they just took everything in order with what's here, and then they just put it all together with the hanging indent. So the next example is a video on a website, because a video on a website is different. So it says here the source has no author. If you have an MLA handbook, then cool, it gives you the page number on there. Since I did not have you guys get MLA handbooks, you can just look on OWL Purdue about videos in MLA on citing those, and it will give you all this exact same information. So the title of the source, right down here, that's the title of the video. And the title of the container, remember, because the container is the website. So it won't be the web address, but it will be NASA's Journey to Mars videos. And the editors, or sorry, other contributors, and it has an editor, because when you look down here, kind of like I was telling you a minute ago about scrolling to the bottom, it often has this kind of information down here for you. Page editor, and so that's who you include. There's no version number, there's no version, there's no number. The publisher, sometimes it's kind of weird with like government entities, but so it would be, but they actually have it on here. So NASA is a pretty easy one, but some other government ones, they can be kind of wonky. So if you ever have that and you need help, just let me know. National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Don't just put NASA because it's shorter. You need to put the full name. The publication date. So the page was last updated on that date. If you don't have a publication date on your website, then what do you have to do? You have to have your date accessed, the day you accessed it, because there has to be some kind of reference to know what day that information was pulled on that website, because websites can change so quickly, right? So that's why that's important. So if you have a website and there's no publication date or a date access, then that's something that needs to be addressed. And then the location, just put in the website. And so that's what it looks like. And it's kind of weird where it goes off on the other line, but it's okay. That's just what it does. Don't worry about that. So this one's a journal article from a database. So that one can also be different. So they have all the information pulled in here. Since it's an article title, it's in quotes. The name of the journal is in italics. We've got the comma like we're supposed to have, and the periods here. And it's showing where all the information is. So there, some of you missed authors on some of your paper, like your sources and stuff, when they just had the information right up here. So you need to make sure you pay attention for that, because the author that wrote it, they definitely need to have credit for writing that to begin with, number one. And then number two, you're using their information that they wrote. So it's kind of like if someone steals your Chick-fil-A food and then they don't even say thank you, they just like take it and walk off, and you're like, that's so rude. That was mine, I bought it. Same thing. So don't steal people's stuff. This one does have a volume number, or a number here. So if it's a journal, especially a lot of times with magazines, all of that, they a lot of times will have some kind of volume number, or it'll say, like a whatever month edition, that kind of thing. Publication date, it does have that. The page numbers. The other container, because you have to say which database it came from. So it's from the EBSCO database. You can't just say which which journal it was. So you got it from this journal, which was in this database. So database ones are a little bit different, but again, all that information is on OWL Purdue. If you forget how to do it, that's why I don't have you guys memorize it. And then the website. So the point of having the website in there is so someone can be like, oh, is that true? Click on it and see exactly where your source is from. So it's just like a direct link to where exactly you got it from. And then there's your entry in the end. So here's the thing. If you were going to do an in-text citation, say you're going to do a parenthetical citation for this source here, what would you have? Well, this one has page numbers. So you would have in parentheses, Lawrenson, the last name, and then the page numbers. If it is just a website, like if we go back here, if it is just a website like this, you would only put the article title. But this article title is kind of long, so you don't have to put the whole thing. You can just do a shortened version. So you could just do like Curiosity Rover in parentheses, and that's it. Or you could say, according to the Curiosity Rover report, comma, and then whatever it is you want to say. So either way to do that, those are both acceptable ways to do in-text citations. But we will practice more with that later, but they are pretty simple. So, and this one is the journal. And they do have a practice template here, and it looks just like this, where you can go through and just add all that in. I think they have it as a PDF file where you can fill things in as you go, or you can just print it off and do it on paper. So if that will help you, you are welcome to do that. We are going to do some practice on identifying proper citation and all of that kind of stuff. But this is definitely something that you guys have to get into the habit of being able to do. It's okay if you have to stop and look stuff up, because even I have to. But you have to be able to recognize that you have all the information that's necessary.